Hey, welcome to Bush Kiddz. I'm going to show you some things today, not necessarily a challenge. We've had some challenges on this subject before, but I'm just going to show you some things that I use and what I use actually for fire starting. And we've shown you how to start a fire with ferrocerium rod, but I'm going to introduce you to my fire starting kit. And it's always a good way to think to have multiple ways of starting a fire. Many survivalists say that you must have 3 ways of starting a fire for when you're in trouble. So I'm going to show you my kit, and I'm going to show you how I can get fire in different ways. Okay, so here's my kit here, which I'll get out in a second because I'm with fire. I've got my first aid kit, and I've got a place to put the fire in and control it. Got some water to hand as well, just in case we need it. So let me just get the kit out and show you what we've got. Okay, so here's the kit, and there's quite a bit here. So what we've got is some matches, a lighter, what we call a flint and steel, another flint and steel, a magnifying glass, another magnifying glass for making a fire from the sun. I've got my friction fire set, bow set, and I've got a whole bunch of ferrocerium rods there. I've got some fuel. I've got some fuel in my leather fire kit there as well, natural tinder and man-made tinder, and then a whole bunch of things in here to create fire. So we're going to make fire in a different number of ways. Okay, so the easiest thing to use is a lighter, and that one is just about going. I'm just going to use a bit of this is kind of waxed paper, wax card. If we've got the lighter that works, obviously the first thing we need to do, try and keep the lighter underneath it so it lights as it comes together. And obviously if you're in wind, you need to almost have it the wind sheltering here, but just use the lighter, get it going. Oops. So we're just going to use the lighter outside the wind, underneath. Going to get it going, just holding it up so the flame comes up just for a second, and then we can put that in and start our fire from that. So first thing, lighter, number 1. Okay, so next up we've got some little matches. These are in a bit of a plastic bag here, and I've got a match and I've got a striker. Problem with matches, of course, is if they get damp, they're not very good in bad weather. You've only really got one go at them. So you can waterproof these by heating up some wax, putting some in the wax, and then wax coating them. But of course, again, what we've got, we need some tinder. Again, I'm just going to use, in fact this time, I'm just going to use some birch bark. So I've got a little bit of birch bark. Put that down for a sec, get the lighter going first. Okay, so now we want to protect the flame from the wind, if we can. And there you go. Okay, we're going to try again. Okay, so we're going to go back into here now, get the match ready, and get the birch bark ready. And you can see how quickly you've got to move with the matches, because they go out really quickly. And of course, then you've got to keep the fire going with whatever tinder you've got before you can start the fire. So there you go, matches, but not brilliant. You've got to be really quick. And of course you're running out then. I've just used 2 or 3 there to get that fire going. Okay, so this time we're going to use a ferrocerium rod. We've seen this before. Got a little bit of cotton wool, and actually to make the cotton wool burn for longer, what you can do is put some Vaseline on it, just a little bit of Vaseline on it, and then when you've got the Vaseline on it, fluff it up like we did before, and that just makes it burn for longer, which means when you get it light, you've got a little bit more time to to get your kindling on. So as we know, we scrape along this to get a spark at about 60 to 70 degrees, as you can see here, just around that straight edge. I'm just going to come straight onto here, and I'm just going to put the spark in. Okay, we're going now. And again, just watch your fingers. Got a little bit of Vaseline on there, so it's going to burn as a flame for a lot longer now than it would do if it's just cotton wool on its own. But these ferrocerium rods, I've had this for at least 8 years, I would say. And you can see it's had some use, but there's still plenty to go in there, and that spark is coming off at quite a heat. Only for a second, but quite a heat to get a spark, and you could spark into most things, man-made or natural tinder. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you, similar to ferrocerium rod, what I've got here is a flint and steel. A piece of flint and a piece of steel. And what you can do here is you create sparks by hitting them together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something called char cloth, and char cloth is a bit of cloth that's had, basically it's been carbonised, so it really takes a spark really easily. So I'm going to put a little bit of char cloth on there, and just going to see if I can get a spark into it. Right, so now you can see there's a spark there, and the spark's now working its way through the char cloth. Now the idea of what to do now is to get like a little bird's nest, and you put this piece of char cloth into the bird's nest, and then you start to okay. So flint and steel is a really old method. What you're seeing there is we have to prepare the char cloth and make sure it's carbonised in many respects. So it really takes a spark really easily. Then get it into some material and then blow air into it, so we've got heat, oxygen, air and fuel that makes the fire. And that's a really old method that goes back a long time. And before the steel, could be using things like iron pyrite, stone, and then hitting the flint with it so it gets a spark, or stones together that create a spark. But that's a really efficient method. So we've got a magnifying glass here, and if we had a bit of sun, actually what we could do is just use that sun on, again, something like char cloth or some natural tinder, just to get that spark going, or that the spark in there to get the char cloth going, and then putting it into some material again. So that's really useful. Or a bigger lens like this, I've got it wrapped up at the moment, that really works well in the sun to get fire as well. Okay, so the last thing here is friction fire, and I've got my bow drill set here. I've got my bow with a piece of paracord on it. I've got my drill or spindle, which is I'm going to move around. I've got my bearing block. The bearing block fits in the top, so I hold that so I can spin it around. I've got my half board, fire board, which this is going to go into and create the ember, hopefully, and then I've got an ember board just to capture that on there. Okay, so I'm not going to go through this in any great depth. I'm just going to show you what happens when you generally when you do it. So first and foremost, I need to put my drill into the bow, and I've got that in there now, in the right direction. I've got my bearing block, and I've got my position here. I'm going to secure my arm against my leg, and what I'm looking for is just to secure that in an upright position, a vertical position for this bow, and a horizontal position for the drill. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to move the bow what you should see now is we're starting to get smoke. Okay. And what we're doing now is we're just starting now to get the heat up to see whether we can get an ember. Okay. So hopefully what we've got here is an ember. And you can see it's smoking a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some char cloth on here, just to need to be really gentle with this now as we've got an ember. Just trying to get that ember glowing. A little bit of gentle movement. Can you see the glow now? The glow is coming. Now I could put that straight into my I'm just going to use this time, breeze. Same as before. Drop that into again, the fire. Just gently put that in. Now I could use the ember actually, and that's ideally what you would do if you didn't have it, but you can see here it's still going. Okay, so thanks for watching. Just a few bits and bobs around my fire kit and using the fire kit. We'll do more on that with each of those items, and I promise there won't be any cheating with char cloth with the bow drill method later on. But just to give you an indication of the kind of things that I've got on my fire kit: a lighter, matches, ferrocerium rod, flint and steel, magnifying glass, and the bow drill set. So have a go if you can get some of those things. Work with your parents, be safe about it. Have a go if you can, and we'll start to post some more up-to-date and in-depth videos around each of those fire making methods in the future. See you soon and stay safe.